How's everybody doing? Welcome back to New York 101. In today's episode, we're working on Queens for the first time by building out the east side of the Queens Midtown tunnel. This is one of the most complicated areas of this build, but I discovered a new intersection marking tool technique that you just have to see. So let's jump right in. We're going to start here in road mode, but don't fret, we're not going to stay here for very long, only a little bit over a minute. This area of the city had actually been previously built, but it was just basically hacked in, just to make sure that it worked, just to make sure that the Queens road entrance had an ability to get into Manhattan, and so that cars coming from Brooklyn could also drive up that way and around, really just to make the overall functionality of the road network in the city operate properly, to help alleviate traffic and make sure goods get where they need to be. But why is this so complicated of a build? Well, the problem is the Pulaski Bridge, which is the bridge you're seeing elevated on the right side of your screen right now. Now, this bridge is difficult because it carries traffic from Brooklyn into Queens, but it does not connect directly to the tunnel. So when that elevated section bottoms out and hits the ground level road network, it branches out into a million places. And those traffics need to be able to use Vernon and Jackson Aves and Boulevards. They need to be able to filter traffic through to the tunnel on some side streets and side connections, but also just kind of carry whatever's going into that neighborhood as well. And in the past, there was really no good way to build this. It would end up looking a little bit janky no matter what I did. But one thing that we have now in Cities Skylines that is one of the best mods to ever come out is the node controller. And using the node controller makes it so that I have a much greater deal of control, a level of control over that area. And it really allows me to kind of tweak and play. And is it perfect? Probably not, but it's damn close. And it really makes a huge difference in trying to get a view that looks right. And overall, this is the build for anyone in the past clamoring for me to do more node controller work, for me to be doing more intersection marking tool work, more traffic manager work. This is the mod, this is the build, and we'll show you a bit more of that in a moment. A lot of this, the bridge was built actually either off camera or during our most recent live stream, which you should definitely check out if you haven't, and get subscribed so you're here for the next one. But one thing that I hadn't added was the pedestrian path over. Now, yes, this bridge asset does have pedestrian paths on it, but I didn't want to mimic the way it looks like in real life. So I built out this, it's a combo bike and pedestrian path. And then on the other ends of the bridge itself, I've closed off all of those connections so that it forces the citizens to actually use the path. And it works, they are actually using it. Another really important part of this neighborhood, since Long Island City is so full of so many towers, is to have mass transit. And I think I talk a little bit about this in the live play, which is only a few minutes away, which I've actually recorded already, as I've been kind of in the habit of doing recently, I guess. But it was really important for me to get both subways and buses built into this. So this is me kind of hacking in the 7 train. I'd eventually like the depot for that train and a lot of the Queens trains to be built elsewhere, but as we'll discuss again in the live play, I'm not really sure how big I'm going to make Queens for this build. Given that I'm not doing other things that I've done in the past, there's going to be more Queens for me to make. So for right now, I've just placed it in there, it's working. I'll show you another station in the live play as well, but this is what I really wanted to talk about. I was sitting down working on the game one evening, and I spent quite a few hours on this build, a lot of it off camera, a lot of footage that I just did not use. But I thought, how do I get these in real life? If you look at this area of Queens on a map, the exit entrance of the Queens side of the tunnel here is like covered in all these hatch marks, and in reality there's just a lot of on and off ramps and places for parking and kind of places where like cops and construction vehicles hang out. But it's all covered in these like angled white lines. So I needed a way to build those, and my immediate thought was, well, intersection marking tool, of course, but there's no roads here. So what I did was I took the big parking lots assets, which I've been using for quite a long time. I don't always use them as my parking lots because they're a little bit tricky to use, but they do look quite nice. But what I've taken here is the filler asset from that pack, and I've dragged it out over the spaces that I want to kind of corral in, and then I've used the intersection marking tool to build the markings that I'm looking for, and then using control on the points and dragging them into place. And I'm so thrilled with the way that it came out. I then, of course, put a wall around all of it, again mimicking what it looks like in real life. I didn't show it to you, but it actually means that when you look like down the tunnel, you see the wall, but that's fine. I think aesthetics up top are more important than aesthetics that you're never going to see inside of a tunnel. But just kind of filling it around with some foliage, and then really just trying to make it look as close to what it looks like on Google Maps. And yeah, I mean, it really just works. And I think the coolest thing about this technique is that I am like, A, I was happy that I was able to figure it out, but B, it's like, where can I use it next? I really want to find some other parts of the city that maybe I've overlooked in the past in terms of more heavily detailing them and applying this technique there, because I think it's a pretty low impact technique as well. So let me know if you've ever seen any other creators do anything like this, or if you ever tried this. I don't want to act like this is something that new that I discovered. I'm sure somebody else has figured this out before, but I didn't learn it anywhere. I kind of figured this out on my own, and I just think it looks really cool, and I'm definitely going to apply it in a lot more places. But you can also see all the other hatch marks, the on and off ramps. I did a lot of editing of the roads around here. The actual road layout, especially in between the on and off ramps, is a little bit different than real life. But I really wanted to make this area look visually with the markings as close to realistic as possible, without fretting too much about the exact number of lanes, the exact placement of the on and off ramps. I wanted the no controller parts of that to look clean, and I wanted the traffic to move smoothly around here, and it absolutely does. We'll show you quite a lot of that during the live play. It's a few minutes long. Overall, a shorter video today though, because I wanted to get this out to you so that this is not the biggest build, but it is the start of what is going to let Queens be something special. And we're going to show you a little bit more of that right now in the live play. All right, and welcome back to the live play. And let's be honest off the bat, this is not the kind of build that looks very impressive from above. If I had a few more hours, maybe I could have built out some more, but we'll zoom in now and take a look at what was built off camera, and zooming in on all the details you saw built out in the live play, or in the time lapse rather, whatever it's called. So right here, all that interesting technique that I was trying out, and I really love it. I really think it looks fantastic, and my hope is that I will get to use this in more areas around the city now that I've kind of figured out this technique. I'm sure there's also so many other ways it could be applied. I mean, you could use the intersection marking tool for grass or pavement or different colors, different patterns. The options are kind of endless. Let me know down below, what would you use it for in your city? What do you think it could be a good option for? Now, another thing that Long Island City is known for, or certainly has become known for in the last decade or so, is a ton of building. Now, this entire area will get flushed out again, either in a future episode or in a live stream, but you have all this industrial that will end up going down here. But this entire waterfront now, especially this area I'm circling right here, is full of new, modern, glassy high-rises. Even the area down here, which in all of my previous New York builds, Google Maps still show this as basically being empty. It was still being redeveloped, but those buildings now exist. And I'm really just looking forward to getting the chance to build that. I have spent so little time in Queens on these various New York builds compared to all of the other boroughs, particularly Manhattan, of course, but even Brooklyn gets more love than Queens does in my builds. And this time, because I'm not planning on building any of New Jersey or reaching out to LaGuardia Airport, I'm going to have the ability to not only continue this grid up to the 59th Street Bridge, but maybe even beyond it a little bit. Let me know what you'd like to see in Queens, because I have the option of either going up further or going east further, and I might do a bit of both, but either of those could be really nice options. Now, I did cut out a lot of footage from the time lapse because one of the things I did towards the end was build a bus route. And when you speed up the bus route footage, it's like, you know, the route line flickers so much, and I didn't want to give all of you headaches. But I did put in the B32 bus, which was actually suggested as a bus line on our most recent live stream. And oh, when did this happen? This was filled in before, I swear. I'll have to give that a tweak in a minute. But I did want to get some buses in here. I felt it really important when building out this area because these apartment buildings that I did get to build, these each hold like 120 or 130 households, something like that. And it's really already putting a pretty decent population into this area. And this intersection right here traditionally has been one of the most complicated for me to build. But having to use node controller, A, makes it a lot easier, but B, it still doesn't let you off the hook for not building mass transit around here. If you don't put in buses and trains, this particular area gets crazy. It gets crazy in real life anyway, but in the game, with the limitations and this being such a central route to go into Manhattan, this can become an incredibly bad traffic choke point. So what I have done is put that B32 bus in, which runs actually all the way down, as we zoom, over to the Williamsburg Bridge bus depot here, which we built and lightly detailed in the live stream. I'll probably come back to it in the future and give it a little bit more of a zhuzh up, but for now, those buses actually run along pretty much existing roads that I had built out in Williamsburg, along Kent and up Franklin, and then into Greenpoint, which I built a bit of off camera, mostly to get some industrial in, since the industrial needs have been pretty high in the city. Of course, when I put this in, I realized I'd actually missed this connection here to allow the bus to exit off onto the street. So I did build that in, and this doesn't look quite as good anymore. I really liked how it looked before I had that there, but it's really amazing what you can do with no controller, and it's like it immediately to me enters like you know, a hall of fame of mods to this game. Like I can't imagine playing it now without it. Just like I can't imagine playing with that intersection marking tool or Move It or Traffic Manager. I don't know, could we have like a Mount Rushmore of Cities Skylines mods maybe? I don't know, but that bus line is in, and additional to that is the 7 train, which is one stop here underneath those trees, and one stop here as well. The next stops will be popping out. There's a huge rail yard here. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to go in. I wish I could have done more, but you can only cram so much into each episode, but I'm really glad you stuck around for this one. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.